large site visit. So we were working on, we weren't sure what was actually out there. Dick hadn't seen all the roads, Heidi hadn't been out to see everyone, but they all went out, did a site visit on everything, so Dick has a better handle on what's out there right now, and so does Heidi, than we did prior to this meeting. That's why we were holding our recommendation. We didn't wanna recommend something that, we were gonna find something that was major, and that we're recommending acceptance. So, and normally, we've always done recommendations at town meetings so that the developer gets that time to finish it. And usually they do, most of these guys wanna get this off their plate, get complete.
The information Dick just provided tonight, did you have that information prior to your last meeting?
No, no, I think that all came because of the big site visit, correct?
So if you have that,
They weren't out with the proponent, the people that were running these proponents of the projects, so.
if you had that information at your last meeting, do you think you would have voted
We
to,
probably would have accepted some of them, yeah, yes.
some of them,
Well,
not all?
I can't speak for the entire commission, you know, I'm only one, you know.
Which ones would you not have accepted, even with that information?
With this information now,
Right. Which ones and why?
the only one that I'd be concerned with would be just the tar box lane part of Mac.
Yeah, I saw we have a letter.
Yeah, until we get, and the whole thing is we gotta work on their property, it looks like, I'm not sure, but,
I just sense the parties just we haven't sat together and figure out a fix and just do it.
right.
I think that I saw some letters going back and forth, and frankly, I think we could sit down and work this out for less than $5,000.
The last time they talked was 2007, in the green, they haven't said anything to the developer, they haven't said anything to us, so we don't know there's something going on. So they just, if nothing's happening on the roadway up there, they're not saying anything. So they're
All
not
right,
really
let's-
anxious to get the fix done.
Let's try, given Dick's recommendation, and he did bring that to the board's attention at our last meeting, let's stick to Agatha Way. Any of the homeowners from Agatha Way sitting in the back there? I saw a couple of hands. Yes, sir. You have anything to say or bring forth?
We would just like a street sign.
You just like the,
Street sign. I have.
Mr. Prisco?
For the house on Lot 5, at your CPC meeting, you talked about the house on Lot 5 having a wall around the retention pond. And did you work that out to make sure that the homeowner on Lot 5 is gonna take over responsibility for it?
We did. I called him the next morning, and I informed him that the drainage easement was gonna have to be relocated off of his wall. And I've also asked Luke Roy from, he's the engineer representing the developer, to relocate the drainage easement, and he's agreed to do that as well. This is the only project you don't have plans to sign tonight, because the stone bounds haven't been set. You can't sign the plans without the stone bounds.
But they're gonna take over the financial responsibilities to maintain the wall and keep it.
Yes,
Okay.
that was made very clear.
It's out in the easement. And then we have to take responsibility for the pond itself.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other input on the, yes, Mr., I'm sorry, ma'am?
Yes, I'm actually a representative from the Greens. I'm a trustee at the Greens.
Could you come up to the podium,
Are we
please?
talking about the Greens or Agatha Way?
This
We're
is
talking about Agatha
Starbucks.
Way.
I'm not sure.
Okay, we're talking about Agatha Way right
Okay,
now.
all right, just let me know when it's my turn.
We'll let you know.
Maybe, if I can ask a town engineer, Mike Sorian. Mike, I see in each one of these, you've said acceptance pending the punch list being completed. Can you give us some historical perspective as to why, if that's the way we've done it in the past? Why have we done
I
it?
told him to write it like that, that's
Yeah.
why.
Oh, okay.
Whether it's Article 1, we complete the work, or whether the developer completes the work, really makes no difference to us as long as the work is completed. And that's why I sort of phrased it
Fair enough.
Mr.
I
O'Leary?
appreciate that.
Because
that way. So,
in the past, we've done it differently than what you're proposing, Dick, and which is true. In other words, we generally haven't accepted it until the punch list has been completed, or the town has already made the decision, or the planning commission's already made the decision that we're gonna seize the bond and complete it ourselves. So I don't, which always incented the developer to complete the work prior to town meeting, we got it done.
But they are legally two separate issues, they're disconnected. For some reason,
I
you
guess,
guys
maybe we were under the
together.
misimpression that if we accepted the street, the bond is released. then they're off the hook. Or we dovetailed the two issues to ensure that it was done. And there's no doubt that we've certainly started to maintain projects and developments prior to acceptance, because they were 98% there. And for a number of years, you know, the chase was on to get the stuff completed, which is why we kind of hold off on this sort of action. In the past, it's been successful, and I understand the argument in relation to the Chapter 90 funds, but I think that would be more of an incentive for the town departments to act more quickly to get it completed, rather than waiting for the developer and keep dunning them to hurry up and get it done, as we're maintaining the roads for them. So, I kind of like the idea of either the town making a determination that we're gonna complete it, you know, or by a drop-dead date for the developer, you know, we're gonna seize the bond and get it done on a more timely basis than what we've been doing, before we accept the subdivision, so that we know that when there's money in hand, or there's gonna be a shortfall, what it is, and collectively, we can make an informed decision as to whether or not we're gonna accept the subdivision or the street, so.
But we do have the money in hand.
We still own the money. It's still in our bond until we release it. It doesn't release with from what Copeland and Pages told us, it doesn't release when we,
Right, but correct me if I'm wrong, members of the planning commission, I guess we were under a different impression.
well, we
At
didn't
least-
know about, first of all, we didn't know about the Chapter 90 funds.
Right, which would have,
Which would have made us push a lot harder sooner.
right,
The other thing is prior, I don't know whether the DPW didn't really want to accept the extra responsibility with their manpower prior to Dick.
But we already are.
Well, you are for the plowing and trash pickup, but for the repair work that needed to be done. And for a while, our engineer had no time because of 62, of course, that's all done now. So we were trying to get it all completed before we.
but even prior to 62, I mean, I'm just, for all the years we've been sitting here,
Yeah, some of them, I mean, we've had a lot done too, on those.
So, the question I have, Dick, is, we go forward under the approach you're recommending, which I think we ought to really consider because of the issue of putting Chapter 90 money, you know, putting more money on the table, is when we accept the street and the developer hasn't completed the work and the bond is outstanding, at the point that we accept the street, can we claim the bond? You know, what,
No, there's a legal process Copeland Page has given us, kind of on a
There is a
parallel path to
process.
the acceptance. The CPC is gonna be, now that we know what the punch list is, we're gonna be notifying them, here's the punch list, give us your schedule to fix it. And if they don't fix it within an acceptable timeframe.
is there some legal time frame that there is not?
it's the planning commission's discretion, I'm sorry, to,
Send a letter?
or
I
to
guess we do.
No.
develop the timeframe?
45 days.
Do you have,
45 days. Excuse me, 45 days,
do you have with you what Copeland and Page had sent to you?
I might.
I do.
Yeah, because I don't recall seeing it.
No, I don't think we got it.
Yeah, you wouldn't get it.
No, it's just an email, it wasn't a
It came
formal.
to-
I appreciate the fact
We
that,
tried to get the cheap
You
Copeland Page
found it.
letter, not the expensive Copeland Page letter.
Yeah.
Dick, I appreciate the fact that you found a way for us to get additional Chapter 90 money, but we haven't done it that
Mr.
way.
Attorney?
I just don't want haste to make waste.
I'll give an example, in Peabody, we had a developer from Linfield in Peabody that was not getting subdivision done, and after numerous warnings, we just took the guy's bond, and he could have completed for $100,000, I completed for $200,000, using prevailing wage. Never had a lot of trouble with developers after that for the last 10 years in Peabody. So, I really have no incentive to save the guy money once I take, well, the city, the town takes the bond. That's generally a kind of good incentive for them.
Mr. Chair?
Mr.
The
Yule.
example that you just gave, so that extra $100,000 you just billed the contractor? Is that what I
The town
understand?
has to use prevailing wage, so generally what I do is 35% cheap, 35% more expensive than a developer.
Right,
So our cost of business ability is more expensive. We hold the bond amount back, assuming we have to do the work.
okay. So the bond was more than the cost that you would have done it for? Okay.
In this case, we have a bond using Mass Highway numbers, which are very conservative numbers, and a 10% contingency. So I'm very comfortable for all of these. resolve all the issues and have money to refund to the developers.
So it behooves the developer to take care of business. Thank you.
Mr. Belliconis, you have
No recommendation.
no recommendation? Mr. Prisco?
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Attica Way as shown on the,
Before, Mr. O'Leary, did you have,
What would be, if we were to withhold our recommendation and vote until town meeting, what's the effect? Which is what we normally do.
If the board chooses to have it all done before we accept it, you know, that's the course of action, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think
If
what,
you're more comfortable with it,
What-
I'm recommending what I'm recommending.
yeah, I
That's all.
understand that, and I appreciate it too, because, you know, obviously it gets more money on our plate in relation to chapter 90, but what I'd like to do is I like the idea of having the punch list completed before we accept the streets, and I also like the idea now that we've tied the chapter 90 funds to the process, that will incent the town to put it on a fast track and get it done more quickly. So that when it comes before us, they're completed, substantially completed, or we've got the developers, and again, you can incent them like you did in Peabody, you know, seize the bond, complete the work, and send them the bill before we accept it. I kind of like that idea, and now that we're more aware, you know, even though we have this option, I still like the idea of having it completed before we take it. So I'm in favor of postponing action unless and until. Maybe if one or two of these, or a few of these is just a small little punch list that, you know, we can make it subject to,
This is not that big.
you know, that this is not a big deal, but,
Let me ask, if we could ask Luke if he's gonna get the stone bounds in on Agatha Way.
Luke Roy, O'Neill Associates. It's really, you know, we're waiting on the developer to get those installed. It's not something that my
So
company
he's holding money back?
personally do.
Okay.
So they've got a contractor supposedly hired to do that, and that it's supposed to be happening any day now, so.
Okay.
We're waiting, but we do have to obviously drill the ground back to part of our work.
additionally, I would suggest that we don't plow the road and make the developers do it if they don't get accepted.
that's unfair.
That's public safety
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
taxpayers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm not sure I buy that,
Yeah,
Steve.
That's unfair.
That's,
Yeah,
you
you're
know,
penalizing, in
Right.
that case, you're
they're paying taxes
penalizing
on
the
that
residents
property.
who pay for these homes, right? And we're taxing the
Well, if
residents.
that's the case, then we seize the bond and get it done before we
Gentleman in the
before we
backside
do
is
it.
the
In
other
other words,
one.
before we start doing that type of work, whether it be maintenance or anything else, we should have, you know, reasonable sense that everything's gonna be
Unfortunately,
completed.
By town meeting vote, we have a policy for public safety reasons to maintain private ways, snow plowing, tree work. We do it for all the other private ways. So we kind of have a unfortunate precedent,
Mhm.
which was a town meeting vote, I think, in '93.
Gentleman in the rear.
Larry Henley, 4 Agatha Way. I guess the one thing I would ask is that, you know, what can we put into the process? I'm completely fine with your suggestion of not changing our rules right now. However, the developers need to know that this stuff needs to be done. Getting lights on was an act of Congress, okay?
Yes, it was.
I had to yell at almost everybody that would listen, people in this room that are probably not real happy. And that's okay. But very simply is it shouldn't be on me to get those things done, just because I was unfortunate enough to buy a house that wasn't released yet. So it's very frustrating when you look at all the little things, and we're down to, I think, a punch list of about 2 things, and one of them includes putting a street sign. The builder, good friend of mine, someone I believe in, has made it very clear, oh, we've contracted, so on and so forth. If it's so easy, why is it taking 4, 6, 8 months? So I recommend that the town ought to take a look at what restrictions can be put on, because frankly, I don't think surrendering the bond's a good enough incentive. I would say that they shouldn't get another permit in the town to build until they've completed what they're supposed to do. But that's just a
Can't do that.
Mr. Pierce.
If I could just, the gentleman's correct.